And welcome to another evening of the macabre, the horror, the abnormal, the strange, the quirky, right from out of normal Alabama, myhaunteddogs.com, and Madame Lady Catherine.
The unusual.
And yeah, we already said myhaunteddogs.com.
Yeah.
That's a drive-by shooting, by the way.
Drive-by shooting.
Yeah. So we got an Alabama superstar who's been an actor since childhood. Right here in the back neck of our woods, Daniel Emery Taylor is going to be joining us a little bit later, just a few minutes from now. We're going to get started early. There's not going to be any spirit box sessions tonight, but as I started out earlier when Kevin got online, have you had your moon pie?
No, I have not.
Moon pie. You've got to get your moon pie.
I had my vanilla one.
This is the, I think it's a kind of banana flavored moon pies.
They're
So,
okay.
so if I conceal my camera in
They're
tonight, if I conceal my camera tonight, it's because I'm eating our sponsor. Even though they're not sponsoring us, I'm eating my sponsor.
Yeah, we can sponsor them.
I still have not gotten. I prefer chocolate moon pies.
Well, they're there. They got boxes of them up there.
Yeah,
You go to Walmart.
Yeah, but
they're there. You better get them.
that requires me to get up and go to Walmart.
You poor child.
You can have Walmart deliver now.
Yeah, you can pull up there and you can just drive up and they'll put it in your car for you.
You know what?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Or did you order these 15 cases of moon pie?
My mother will have a delivery, I'm sure, one day this week. I'm just going to message her and say, I need chocolate moon pies.
We need moon
Well,
pie.
there you go.
So we've got,
You need a moon pie.
and we can go ahead and do our intro. You already sent him a link, I assume.
Yes. And
I've done a little research on Daniel Emery Taylor. He is he started out in a play in school, believe it or not, and it was kind of a horror show that got him started the night before Christmas and all through the house. It was the night before Christmas, and he enjoyed performing as the father in that elementary school stage production of Twas the Night Before Christmas. And there was a local talent scout that for some reason said, hey, you red-headed thing, you might have an opportunity. And that was back many years ago. Now at age, 42 or 43 or whatever, Daniel is still in the performing arts. He owns a entertainment company, production company called Debtor Entertainment. And I have the logo that Kit came up with for Debtor Entertainment. So entertainment is written. I missed getting the entertainment part, but you see that's his logo right there for that part, and it's going to be pretty fun. So Kevin, he's best known as a child actor for what movie?
Return of the Swamp Thing.
The Swamp Thing.
Return of the Swamp Thing.
That was a pretty well-known, popular movie, was it not?
Yes, it was. It was the sequel to the Swamp Thing. The DC.
Somebody go over there and welcome Tracy to the show.
Hello, Tracy.
Welcome and thank you for joining us. And I hope that
there we go.
Our friend Daniel will also share this on his page. Can you share it on his page for him?
I sent him the link. He wanted to share it so people could.
There you go.
Could tune in.
So we're trying to get everybody away from their day jobs. So that there will be nobody at McDonald's to hand you your burger and take your money.
Then how am I going to eat McDonald's?
I would say that you're going to have to learn how to cook, or you get the frozen burgers from Walmart and Nuco.
Yeah.
We've already got self-pay in McDonald's, so.
Yeah, so they had that in Mexico City, like back in the 90s. We went up to a kiosk in Mexico City. Everybody thinks of Mexico City as a third world country. This is back in the 90s. I went down to Mexico City, down the baking district, and besides them having fire eaters on the street, raising money and all that kind of stuff. But there, I walked into the fast food. It was McDonald's, and you walked up to a kiosk, punched in your order, entered your money, and went from there. And now, welcome to the show, our big Alabama star. How you doing, Daniel?
How's it going? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
perfect.
We spent the first 5 minutes, Daniel, talking all about you.
Yeah, we did.
All right, so we're done here, right? You guys, we talked about it all already.
No, I've seen some of your work, and it's like, hey, your house looks a little bit too clean and normal for who you represent yourself as. I thought I would get you on here, and all of a sudden we would see a lot of goth material and whatnot back then.
Yeah, a lot of blood in the background, you know.
Well, all that's in my home office. This is our normal dwelling space. So.
Okay. That's your safe room.
Yes. we have to put up a good facade for people. So.
Well, we live in Alabama. What can we say, right?
Yeah,
very true.
I'm never on camera. I always have a picture up.
She's just a picture down there.
First of all, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
thank you. My pleasure.
And your hair is just as red as it was when you were a kid. A little bit of gray, but at least you got hair. So.
Yeah, this hair is holding tight here. Yeah, a little white in the beard. I used to. I would get one or two white hairs in the beard, and I'd do the little touch up thing. And now I'm just like, it's too far gone. It is what it is.
Don't talk about too far gone now. You've had an interesting life.
I have, and I've done a good number of things, and
if I read your background properly, Daniel, your first acting experience was in a Christmas horror show called "Was the Night Before Christmas."
It was a school play. I went to Gwen Elementary there in Hoover, and I got cast as a gift box to sit under the Christmas tree and look enticing,
Okay.
But the little guy who had been cast as the father got sick or something, and they stuck me as the father. I was kind of a shy kid, kind of a nerdy, shy kid. People I don't think expected a lot out of me, but the moment they put me on stage in front of a crowd, man, I hammed it up. I came alive, and I was just kind of really found my element.
Yeah.
So from there, a talent scout saw me in the play, and then got in touch with my parents, and the ball was rolling.
Well, that's great. And your heart is still very much into being a performer.
Oh, absolutely.
On several levels. And I'm excited for you, and I'm excited to meet you.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
I never, we've all seen all these old movies. Now I've seen some of your what I call indie work.
Mm-hmm.
And, hey, it's pretty good. It's pretty good stuff,
Thank you.
I was playing this one bit kind of ad nauseum because I thought it was cute. The little trailer for a game.
Oh, yeah.
And I think whoever did that camera work was pretty right on. That was pretty good stuff.
I actually use a DP, director of photography, out of Huntsville named Bill Schweikert.
Okay.
He did It's Just a Game and will be doing my next one as well. And top notch, high quality work. He works at Hollywood levels, so we're lucky to have him here, where he also still slums it with us. So,
well, do you ever now get in front of the camera as well as behind it? Or what?
I do. I always try to write myself a little fun role because I love acting. I enjoy acting. I still do acting roles for other filmmakers as well. But normally I try to write myself, little interesting roles, not real big roles, because it's hard to, in my opinion, it's hard to act and direct at a high level at the same time. Billy Bob Thornton can do it. Me, not quite as well.
We all have talents.
It's very true. But yeah, I always try to write myself a little role, something, keep my beat wet, as they say, and get that fun time in front of the camera.
Well, you see the three of us, well, her face and us. So if you need a Three Stooges routine in modern times, did you know that your high school buddy Kevin was also an actor?
Actor?
Yeah.
I did not. He acts like an author, right?
He what?
He acts like an author, right?
No. Okay, Daniel, you're gonna have to share the stage with Kevin for just a moment.
Okay.
Oh no! Here we go. He's gonna show.
Are you willing to do this?
I am absolutely.
Because you may have found yourself a new actor. I'm telling you. So, hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Kevin loves it. He acts ashamed of it, but he loves it. So we come on.
See, I have a professional clip of me acting on stage, but no, he's not going to show that. He's going to show. He's going to show.
Got to make sure I don't open up the porn screen here.
He's going to show you twerking or something like that, Kevin. Not the one of you.
What's the other one he did? What else did he do?
Oh Lord, all I did was that one. I don't know nothing about no other video.
Okay. Here we go. Got that ready for a good show here. There we go. Yeah, you wish you lived.
Oh Lord. So this is Kelsey's favorite.
I wish.
Okay. So Crazy Girl said you need to do a little twerking, Kevin.
I don't twerk. I ain't twerking.
There you go.
This ain't that kind of show.
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, before the show ends, Kevin is going to do his Miley Cyrus impersonation. Party like it's what's her song? Party what?
Party in the USA.
Yeah. Oh, he knows it. Come on, let's go.
I could say play on Magic 96 all the time.
Just Kevin, come on. Go ahead, stand
I'm
up.
not singing Miley Cyrus. And do you really want me wiggling my big fat butt?
Absolutely.
You got some strange interest over there.
Has he ever claimed to be normal?
I would think my flute playing would be better than
But I think
my big old rock twerking
while you play the flute, that's got to rock.
Oh gosh. I'm too big to do. I'm too fat to do twerking.
Oh no! You'll bust it, baby.
I'll bust my pants. Yeah.
What's that other song? Let's see about big butts.
I like big butts.
I cannot lie. The mother can deny.
That's a Crazy Girl.
Why do you want me wiggling my big old butt? Why do you want me wiggling my big old butt?
Okay.
Yeah. I think I may have a role for you in my next picture.
When I saw that trailer, and I thought I could see him. I got to tell you, we have a lot of fun. Daniel, Kevin is he's just a super great guy. Anybody that can tolerate me for any length of time has got to be a great person.
Well, he tolerated me in high school, and we gave him a hard time too. So,
so he hasn't changed much.
Wasn't all that bad, man. Creative writing, and now look at today.
Yes, right. Yes.
Okay, I got that out of the way, but I just figured Daniel, he'd known you for a long time. He'd probably be impressed with your turkey skills.
I was very impressed.
What about his flute play? He used to play the flute a lot on the show. We could do we'll give you some ideas for some new screenplay. Men in kilts play flutes and murder people.
He showed that. We had, what was it, a month ago? We had prestigious Canadian actress Cindy Hines, who was in The Brood, the David Cronenberg movie.
Oh yeah.
And I've been friends with her for several years now.
Oh,
We
and
had her on.
she
And he
saw that
plays the-
clip. She played that. I played that clip of him twerking.
Yeah, and
And
I'm
then he
off
got
over
up
here
and
to the
twerked.
side. And what was it she said? She said she surprised me. She said, with an ass like that, I can't believe what magazine was it? Hasn't called you? I can't remember. Did she say Playgirl or something? I don't know.
I don't remember. Life is to be enjoyed and used and abused. Real good. All right, so let's get back on to Daniel.
Yeah, let's get on back to the.
Daniel, that's a hard act to follow, I know, but
I'm going to try my best.
Anybody can follow that.
so this talent scout saw you. How old were you in the elementary school play?
7, 8.
All right, so up to then, you're a shy little redheaded kid running around school, and all of a sudden, you had an opportunity to get on stage, and something about getting in front of these people brought you alive.
Absolutely.
And you just were fortunate enough to have this local talent scout sit there and say, hey, this little redheaded kid, I can give him a job.
Yeah, and there was a local agency there in town, which I don't believe is there anymore. But they had me come in, and I did a screen test for one picture that I ended up not getting, but Return of Swamp Thing was the second thing I auditioned for, and pretty smooth process, and I got cast and had my first gainful employment. So,
well, you were very convincing in that role.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, very, very convincing. It was like I thought, what? My heart went out to Kevin, knowing that he went to school with that kid. You had a tendency to be brutal in that movie.
I did. Yep, I was a little hellion, but it was a lot of fun. And really, from that point on, I knew I wanted myself to be a filmmaker, because while everybody was hanging out with the actors, Heather Locklear, my mom was excited. I didn't know who Heather Locklear was at the time. I was little.
Yeah, I bet you now you wished you were 20 when you met her.
Well, that would have been a different story. But yeah, everybody was hanging out with the actors and everything else, and I was hanging out with the stuntmen and the camera crew. I wanted to know how everything worked. Wanted to kind of peek behind the curtain, as it were, and I've been fascinated with the art of making movies ever since.
So you, where did they film?
Savannah, Georgia.
Okay, so you didn't have to go too far. Well, Savannah's a little drive, but yeah. And from there, what took place? You had that, and that was a pretty big movie.
It was nationally released. I don't think it did real well at the box office, but it's one of those that really found its audience on cable. It played HBO nonstop for a couple of years, and then from there it was on USA, like I feel like weekly, almost. And then Sci-Fi, once that came around, it was playing that. So it's one of those that really picked up steam after the fact on television.
Oh. So what next? What happened next?
From there, I just kept auditioning. I auditioned for some cool things and never got. I auditioned for Dick Tracy and auditioned for Hook and some other the Babe Ruth story. Those are the things that stick out. But the next thing I got was I did a spot on In the Heat of the Night,
Okay.
which is every Southerner's favorite, TV drama.
Yeah, my parents watched it.
Yeah. In the Heat of the Night, I did sit on a show called I'll Fly Away. That was like critically renowned and ended up getting canceled after like 2 seasons, I think.
Yeah.
And then the next big thing I did was I was in Road Trip. So Road Trip, I was right out of high school and auditioned for that, and we shot that. Shot it. I actually filmed 3 times because they kept calling us back out. So It was initially shot on the University of Georgia campus. And then they brought us back out to Georgia Tech, and we shot there. And then the third time, they actually flew us to L.A. To do some pickup shots out there.
So, in all the roles that you've done, you seem to be you like horror.
I like horror. I like horror because it's so it's fun. B, it's easy to sell because there's always going to be an audience for horror. But thematically, it's just the whole good versus evil. It's morality tales. It's fables. You can wrap all these things into this nice little package. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's just such a rich genre to explore when you have maybe deeper messages that you want to convey to the audience.
Right.
So it's not just usually in horror, even cheap horror, even quote unquote bad horror. Most of the time, there's like an underlying message to the story that you're seeing.
I make a point. Yeah. Very interesting. So you mentioned another project you're working on now.
Yeah, we've actually got one we're going to launch. We're currently talking to investors, and we are going to launch the Kickstarter for it this coming month. And it's going to be the biggest thing we've worked on so far. We've got I can't announce him until we are funded for contractual reasons, but we have a very well-known, very beloved horror icon who has signed on to play one of the leads in the film, as well as a fantastic actress out of New Orleans named Nadia Eiler. And it's Myra Loves Monsters is the name of it. This is the first time we've actually announced the name, so there's a little something for the viewers there.
There you go.
But I'm going to keep the rest of the information under my hat, but it's a very novel concept, something I've not seen done before. So it's a script I'm really proud of. I think it's the best thing I've written, and I'm just really excited about what we have planned as a production.
Okay, so you are writing your own scripts.
Yeah, yes. In a lot of ways, I really consider myself a writer first. I think Kevin will remember all the interesting things that I wrote in high school.
Yeah.
I wrote a story one time in high school that my English teacher called the most beautifully written piece of trash you'd ever read. And that that was a high compliment to me. I'm like, I will take that. That is fantastic.
Piece of trash.
The most beautiful piece of trash. What was Mrs. Burroughs? I think.
I was just thinking, was that
yeah.
Burroughs?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what you were saying earlier about these B movies of horror flicks,
mm-hmm.
they're the ones that people are still watching 60 years later.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, the well-known ones, I don't know. You don't see much of, but I mean, these others, there's cult followings of some of these things.
Absolutely, the horror fan base is very loyal, and they are very passionate about what they like, and even the most obscure, cheapest horror film is still going to have a very passionate fan base. But to me, I think it's because most of these stories are so timeless. I mean, I watch Psycho at least, once, twice a year, and it's still one of my favorite movies. And that movie was, made, I think, almost right at 2 decades before I was born, maybe 50, however long it's been, 15 years before I was born. But it's still the same, story beats apply, the same, themes still apply. Same thing with The Nightmare on Elm Street, which I think holds up just as well today as it did in 1984. Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead. These films are good because people are the same. Technology has changed, or maybe our situations have changed, but people are still the same, and we're still afraid of the same things.
Yeah. So just because it doesn't have a big box office, pull doesn't mean that it's not going to have a lasting appeal and draw on it.
Right, yeah. And many of the horror classics were considered bombs when they came out.
Yeah.
It's just through video, home video, and then later cable, and now streaming is where they, kind of picked up their audience and built their audience.
Right. That's very fascinating. So now you, I understand you've got a day job.
I do some consulting work on the side and some other things to, take care of. So,
but clearly you would like to get to where you're just in the writing and acting and filming full time.
I would love to do nothing except, write and direct and act. But, the industry is what it is, and it's feast or famine. So you've got busy, profitable times and other times where you're kind of in stasis. So
I know. Well, I've written twice as many books as he has, and the royalty.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
I have. I've written 30 books. You've written 13 or 14.
We're not counting.
And I'm not in competition. My point in saying all that is, I could barely fill up my gas tank with royalty checks.
Yep. Right.
That's me. It's gas money for the month.
It's like, yeah, okay.
I got my day job.
That'll get me to Walmart, but it won't pay for my groceries. But it's I enjoy writing and whatnot, just like Kevin and you both. Kevin's a lot better author than I am. My books are kind of boring compared to his, but bottom line is, you've got in the music business, the internet, especially YouTube, opened the doors for a lot of entertainers, singers. Okay, I think Justin Bieber got his start on YouTube.
I think you're right. Yeah,
and I think Lady Gaga had a big YouTube pool before she moved into where she is today. I may be wrong about her, but I thought I'd read that somewhere. My point being is, does that kind of work the same way in the movie industry? Can you kind of get your foot in the door and forget all the big companies and all the BS and say, look, I'll get right to the people?
You can. People have certainly done it. I don't know if there are any success stories to the extent of like a Justin Bieber or something like that. But yeah, no, absolutely. People do that, especially now on like TikTok. People are getting acting roles from that because, they're filming little skits or little comedy routines or whatever. And yeah, you're going direct. You've got, potentially an audience of millions right there, direct to consumers. So yeah, and even the whole kind of local film industry and the whole independent film scene is based on, we can make our film, we can, tell our story, we can get our product out there, and we can take it directly to the consumer as well. Streaming and things like Tubi and Vudu and things like that, you can put movies directly out there without even going through a distributor.
Yeah.
So.
And you've got, of course, you can develop your own website and have them pay to watch your movie on your website too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So all kind of interesting things you could do, and you can put
Amazon
out teasers.
Prime.
Yeah, Amazon Prime.
Yep.
You can produce your own movies on Amazon.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So there's a lot of doors of opportunity that wasn't there when you first got started.
Oh, absolutely, and now, I mean, you can make cinema quality films on an iPhone. It's it's not. Yeah, I mean, we use a cinema camera, of course, like an actual film camera when we film. But I have shot scenes before on an iPhone.
And when you're after post production, you can't tell the difference.
No, especially if you know how to work. Go in there and fiddle with a couple of the settings. Yep. Then yeah, you can. Put it 60 frames per second and 4K, and yeah, you're good.
I do a lot of weddings.
There's
been weddings, and I video a lot of weddings and whatnot. And there's times that I'll get some shots just like you with this, and I tie it in with my other shots. And I mean, literally, maybe somebody that's really got a super keen eye that does video might catch something, but for all practical purposes, you can't tell the difference.
No, you can't. So the fact that technology is so much cheaper and so much more readily available, and the fact that the internet has provided us this avenue to take our work directly to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now I tell people all the time, anybody can make a film.
Right.
Now, making a good film may be a different story, but anybody can make a film and anybody can get their work out there.
The fascinating thing about TikTok and YouTube is that we're learning that there is really kind of an audience for about everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
no matter the quality of your content, the way these platforms are working is discovering. I guess people are just extremely bored and find something they can bite into.
And it's quick. It's quick. It's like, okay, I'm bored for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Let me watch 2-3 TikTok videos. Yeah.
So I could see that tying in with a filmmaker, because you can just do little skits that's going to be introducing your movies or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get them captured. Yeah.
And building rapport with an audience, because now, especially in the era of social media, people in your audience like to feel like they have a personal connection to you.
Right.
Even if they don't know you, they like to feel like they do, or at least they want to feel like they know something about you.
Yeah.
And social media is good for that, because you build a loyal fan base that way. You get real time feedback. If you do something people like, you're gonna know. If you do something people don't like, you're gonna know.
Yeah. Well,
pretty quick.
So now, talking of all that, I'm going to share this I grabbed from you that you didn't know. I stole it from you. All right, so to be fair, I missed the entertainment part down at the bottom when I grabbed that, but that's your logo for your production company.
Yeah, that was my logo and my first fanfare for what we call a vanity card that goes to the front of the film.
There you go. And is that what you're still using? It was on that trailer from.
Debtor Entertainment is my production company, and that will be. I like to change it up every maybe change the color scheme or something every film. Kind of tailor it to, no pun intended, tailor it to the individual project. But that's still using the same logo and everything.
Right. So you are still diligently working your way through this, still looking for something that grabs enough people to get you to another level?
That's it. My hope has been, and my goal has been with every picture, is that it's, I know Rome wasn't built in a day. Overnight success stories usually aren't overnight.
They're not.
I've heard people say, my overnight success story took 20 years, because people don't see the first part of it. People only see the success and not all the story that went before it. But my goal has been with every picture is to make each one bigger and better than the last. As long as I'm progressing, then I feel like as an artist and as a business person that I'm going in the right direction. And so far, so good.
Are you sticking with horror?
My next one will be a horror. I've got some ideas. I actually had a film that was kind of a noir style, drama thriller that I shopped around and just could not find the funding for, because it was kind of a downer script. It was not necessarily a happy ending, but I've had a comedy that I shopped around and people were just kind of like, the thing about horror is it's easy to sell because there's always the audience for it. Whereas I think you've got to have a little bit more of a proven record before, a lot of times you can get these other types of films financed. But to answer your question, no, I want to do a little bit of everything. I love horror, and I will probably always be horror centric. But I would love to branch out and do other things as well. The type of career I would love to have would be like a a John Landis, who is known as a master of horror, American Werewolf in London, some of the greats, but also a master of comedy, Blues Brothers, things like that. So
Right.
I would love to, kind of spread my wings and be able to do both.
You don't want to be locked in a box.
No, I do not. I want to, Wes Craven's one of my heroes. Poor Wes Craven did Music from the Heart, and people were just like, "What is this?" it was his first attempt at non-horror, and people were very confused.
Yeah. Well, acting for some, anyway, for most people in acting, I think once you get branded, it's hard to change that brand.
It is, and the odd thing is, everybody in Hollywood started in horror. Especially from maybe not necessarily the newer generation, but people our age and older all started in horror. So filmmakers, a lot of them started working for Roger Corman. So it's
What did you think of the movies like the Blair Witch Project that presented themselves as a actual filming of actual events?
Found footage.
They were not overproduced. Or didn't look overproduced, let's put it that way.
I have seen some really good found footage films. I'm not generally a fan of the style, and that's just a personal thing. It's nothing. No shade to any of those filmmakers or anything like that. Blair Witch, I thought was, it's not a film that I enjoyed watching necessarily just because it didn't live up to my expectations, I guess.
The selling factor was it looked real enough to believe it was real.
And we thought it was real. I don't know if everybody remembers. We thought it was probably the most brilliant marketing I have ever seen for a horror film, period.
Since Orwell's Invasion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that, but I've seen, there was one, what was it? The Taking of Deborah, Logan, maybe? Is that
I haven't seen
that is probably the best found footage style that I've seen, because that was a really, really good one. I liked the first Paranormal Activity a great deal. I
saw that. That was
I thought that
they set that up where it was like their surveillance cameras in their house. Yeah.
And that's really that they got around what is a common complaint of mine, which is it's really hard to explain why somebody's filming in a found footage situation.
Yeah.
Made sense in Blair Witch Project for the most part, but I really feel that like Paranormal Activity did a great job of sidestepping that, because we've all got cameras now. We've got Ring doorbells and security cameras and everything, so that made perfect sense.
Yeah, that I agree. But
and they did a fantastic job, and that's one of those big success stories where I want to say they filmed that for like $20,000 or something.
Yeah, it was very cheap.
Yeah, and then made millions.
Yeah, and they came out with a 2 and 3 or just a 2.
Oh, they've had 7 of those.
7 of them. Wow.
There's a 7th one out on Paranormal. On Paramount Plus.
My life got so busy, I hadn't been able to pay a lot of attention to a lot of the work.
Yeah, it's got a whole mythos now, and side stories and things. Yep.
There's a movie out there now that's all. I haven't seen it yet. I can't remember the name of it, but it's another paranormal story. But it's all filmed from those doorbell cams, where they call them.
Ring.
Yeah.
Ring. Yeah, it's all Ring cameras.
Yeah, I've not seen that, but I saw something about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you get that on TikTok all the time, and you get it on YouTube all the time. It's like, and you wonder, it's like, did that really happen, or did they stage this? And you never really know.
Right.
You're watching it, but either way, you still watch it. It's like, ooh, what did this crazy fool do at these people's house? Why was that weird character ringing the bell at 3:00 in the morning? And that's the perfect thing. And to me, in all these stories, is leaving something to the imagination.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a lot of filmmakers, I think, miss that. It's something that I tried to employ with It's Just a Game. My last film is you don't want to show everything. You want to try to leave as much to the imagination as you can. I've had the conversation numerous times about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is considered one of the most horrifying, gut-wrenching films of all time. You barely see any violence in that film.
Right.
No blood.
But people will swear they did. Oh, yeah, he took the chainsaw and stuck the chainsaw, and he stuck the hook. You saw the hook come out. No, you didn't see any of that. It was playing on your imagination. It's quick cuts, things like that. Yeah.
Perfect, because it led you to that thought.
Yep.
And then your mind took over.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And the mind is much scarier than anything they can show on screen.
Oh, yeah, I know, Kevin. I understand that.
And I don't see those parts, so I have to make it up in my head.
Well, we don't. I say we don't. I used to be a very avid reader, and I don't read as much now. I blame that on getting older. But the reality is, I read all the Stephen King novels before I saw any of the movies. And once I read all the books, I was disappointed in the movies. Some of them were okay, but what I imagined from the book was a lot more detail and a different, you know what I'm saying, that presented on screen.
Yeah, that's a very common thing. And it's because you get so much more of a deeper introspective view of the story when you're reading a novel as opposed to seeing it on the screen.
Now, writing a screenplay is a whole different world than writing a novel.
It is. It's a definitely different skill set. I've done both. But to me, I'm very descriptive when I write my scripts because I like the actors and the crew and everybody, when they read it, to visualize what I'm visualizing.
Okay.
And I find by using a lot of description, and again, everybody does it differently. You could have 10 screenwriters sit up here and give you 20 different opinions. But when I write, my scripts feel very much like a narrative, just because I want people to be able to visualize, what we're going to be doing.
So let's see. How many books have you written?
Nothing's been published, but I'm writing something pretty much all the time.
Okay. So what is this? Oh, that's a movie.
That's a movie. Yep.
Okay. All right. So you, at that point, you went to some what are these conventions?
Yeah. Before the pandemic, we were doing several conventions a year, and since then, I don't know. I've not really thought much about getting back out there yet. So
wouldn't you mentioned the pandemic? Of course, then it kind of takes us back. What was the Stephen King book, The Stand?
Oh yeah.
So isn't it time now, especially post-pandemic? I use that loosely, right? What about something along those lines at this present time? Because it's so prevalent on people's minds, and we're kind of feel like we're coming out of it. And is it too soon? I
think the wound's still too fresh. I think we've all been living it for 2 years, over 2 years, however long it's been, 2 years.
See, I'm opposite of you, because I think all the right-wing deniers would buy it and say, see, we told you it was fiction.
Probably.
So you make money off the people you don't agree with.
But absolutely. Yeah, I saw that along those same lines. I was watching Bill Maher the other day, and they made mention that more Democrats watch Fox News than they do MSNBC, and the only thing I can figure is they're just hate watching.
It gives good entertainment quality conversation.
Yeah.
So let's see, Bill Maher, he's the politically incorrect guy.
Right, correct. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Man after my own heart. Anyway, all right. So you're moving on into your early 40s now, and you are still hot on the trail of your performing arts career.
Absolutely.
And you've certainly got a great track record to go on. And now in the 21st century, to me, it's like this should be a prime territory to put a lot of shit out there with TikTok. And I mean, to get your to get that draw like you're talking about.
Absolutely. The main thing, a lot of things like TikTok, for instance, is still very new. So people are still trying to figure out how to work the algorithm and how to find an audience on those platforms. But yeah, no, if you're willing to put in the work and, put something entertaining out there, then people will find it.
Now, you are married.
I am.
And you've been seemingly happy married for a long time now.
Yeah, we've been 16 years, will be 17 years this year.
17 years.
Mm-hmm.
So she must be very supportive of your...
She absolutely is. She, anything I need to do or anything that I endeavor to do, she's right there with me. Every sacrifice I've had to make for my career, she's made with me. So it's, she's a huge part of what I do.
Does she involve herself in it?
To some degree. She likes to try to give her little walk-on roles every now and again. She prefers not a lot of dialogue, but she's always on set with me. She does the conventions with me. Yeah, she's always right there with me.
Well, I prefer film work over stage acting, and a lot of that has to do with whoever is directing the stage, because you got to get it right the first time.
Absolutely. I've done stage work as well. Did stage in high school. And it's fine. To me, they're different art styles as well. Whereas, on the stage, you've got to be very big, very boisterous. You got to reach the people in the back row. You have to be everything. Your movements have to be, exaggerated, right, so people can see. Whereas film is all about the nuance and the subtlety. In film, you can convey an emotion just by having a character cut their eyes over to the side.
Oh, some of the most intense moments in movies, no words are spoken.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's why I personally prefer film as an art form, but I have a great respect for people who do stage work, because it's not easy. And like you said, it's one take and you're done. So
no, you screw up, you screwed up.
That's it.
Yeah. So you do prefer film over stage?
I do.
Do you get a lot of how many of these films have you made to this point?
I have directed 4 feature-length films, one short film. I directed a segment for an anthology that was released. So, but of my own feature films, I've directed 4.
4, and on those, as you go through the process, I'm not familiar enough with Alabama, Birmingham area and whatnot as to what goes on there. Is there an actors union that everybody belongs to around here? Because Alabama's not a big union state.
It's not, and most of the talent we use is non-union. I'm not opposed to using union talent, and like, for instance, the next picture we do, the name actor I referred to is obviously union, and we've got to go through, SAG for that. And SAG is great, SAG-AFTRA. They're great. They're easy to work with and everything, but it's additional expense, when you are working with unions and around unions. So that's why a lot of us on the independent level try to do things non-union if possible.
So the big question would be, how do you go about getting funding? Where do you go to find funding? Is there certain sources of people that just like to invest in movies that you know? Or
there's that. We've done in the past, we've done a mixture of private investors and then also like crowdfunding. Crowdfunding, you generally don't want to rely on crowdfunding for your entire budget. But I'm a pretty straightforward guy, and I think I'm a relatively nice guy, and I just go talk to people. It's like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I put together a business proposal. This is what we've got. This is what we're trying to get. Are you interested? And then a lot of people will do it because that's what they do. They're people who just produce film and fund films, and they get portions of the proceeds and everything. Some people do it for the experience. It's like, hey, I've always wanted to make a movie. I'll put X amount of dollars in, and then I can come, be on set and see what goes on. And it's a combination. People will reach out to doctors and dentists and contractors and anybody who has, maybe expendable income who may want to, invest in these things. But
people better off than we are.
yes.
Okay, so when you were reaching out, I know I've had an opportunity to be part of a reality TV show about exorcisms at one point in time, and they got funding from people that were interested in such projects. And then they paid us to do kind of like I guess you call a pilot. And then they take that pilot, which is like one show, and they take that to raise other funds with before it actually gets produced.
Yeah.
Do you do a trailer, or do you do anything to tease people with it to get them?
We've actually, when we released the crowdfunding for Myra's Monsters, this next one, we actually have a proof of concept teaser that we shot. So it's like a little 2-minute thing that kind of gives you a taste of what the film will be like. So yeah, it's normally you want to have something to show, something to show kind of, at least so people can visualize what it is you're going for. And so if they want to be in, if that's the kind of thing they want to, be involved with. So
do any of the investors ever say, well, let me look at the screenplay?
A couple of times, but not usually. Most of the time they just want, like a big overview, kind of big picture overview of, here's the basic story, here's what we're doing, things like that. But I don't think I've ever had anybody want to see the script before signing on.
So when you are a indie,
but it's fine if they do. It's fine if they do.
Okay, so you're not concealing it. You're willing.
No.
To say, hey, yeah. I keep calling your work indie. Is that independent indie? Is that project? Yeah,
that's fair. Absolutely.
Yeah. So in that realm of getting this out there, you have maybe more liberties about approaching people than maybe someone else would. You're kind of open. You are the man. You're the boss in your production.
Do you mean like in terms of like
the entire show, from raising funds to the whole production?
It's kind of all roads flow through me and my business partner. So we've got can make deals or reach out to people as we see fit. Yep.
Do any of your biggest investors kind of step in and want to have some control over the production?
I make it. I mean, it's part of the contract, and I make it clear that they were purchasing no creative control. However, I will definitely listen to suggestions, especially anything that would make the production better. Like, hey, why don't we hire this person, or why don't we do that? I'm open to that, but for the most part, most people understand that it's kind of a hands-off thing. I do invite you to be, part of it, part of the team. Come to set, voice your opinions, but at the end of the day, there's one director, and that's kind of the way it's got to be. Mm-hmm. Unless you're working, for like Disney or something, in which case the mouse is the director.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So yeah, it's a fascinating world. Now I know you wrote a little post. I trolled you a little bit on the internet.
Yeah.
And you were talking about a lot of the crooks involved in the filmmaking business, and you made a point of saying that Alabama is not immune to that.
This is true. It's buyer beware and actor beware and crew member beware. Yes.
So on your getting of actors and actresses, do they work on a volunteer basis for you with hopes of making money from it, or how does that work?
No, and we pay our talent, not necessarily a ton, and not necessarily what would be union rates, but no, I like to make sure everybody's paid, and because actors go through a lot of expense just in pursuit of their art as well. I mean, headshots and wardrobe and traveling and all these things. So, I like to make sure that everybody's compensated. Again, even if it's not a ton, because a lot of the budgets we work with are smaller, but still, I like to make sure everybody gets something.
So, do any of the artists retain any ability to get royalties from the work?
Not as of yet. I mean, that's the one thing about working when you work union productions. The union makes sure that union talents get royalties and things like that. But unfortunately, the indie world's just not really set up that way.
Oh, I understand. You're working with small budgets. I get that. You're almost, not quite, but almost an unknown entity.
Sure.
In the industry, and so you're less capable of guaranteeing anything to anybody. Number one. Right. And that's why you keep striving, because hope is you'll get to where you can say, "Hey, I can pay you $100,000 to come to work for me."
And I mean, there have been instances where talent, as part of their deal, have gotten what they call points on the back end, but that would be handled, by the individual production company, and it wouldn't go through like a governing body like a union production would.
Right.
So it's kind of like on a handshake deal, and everybody trusting everybody else to be honest,
which is not always.
Actor beware, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And producer and everybody else, I guess.
Yeah.
They've had some of those. I call them scam artists, but some of those talent agencies have come through Birmingham, advertising.
Well,
come join us for $3,000, and we'll get you this and that, yada yada yada. And
they run websites.
They just
they'll get you on a mailing
never.
List
for anybody watching, never pay an agent up front. They get paid when you get paid.
Right.
Yes.
And what would be that? I'm glad you brought that up. And we're doing an educational show tonight,
yes.
Daniel, thanks to you. But from some of your posts, it seems like you're kind of into informing people.
I try to, because you run into, I work with so many first-time actors, again, because it's indie and it's low budget, and people are trying to build out their reels and trying to just get experience on set. And there's so many people who have such good intentions who get led astray by perhaps some of the lesser virtuous people in the industry. Which again is present at every level, at our level on up. So I just try to let people know, like, this is not the way it's done. An agent should not be charging you up front. They get paid when you get paid. Your IMDb star meter doesn't really matter, so don't go and pay. I saw there's a place now that says they can jack up your IMDb star meter if you pay them such and such. That doesn't really matter. It's just.
It's like buying subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah. And it's just, you just try to make sure that people don't get duped, because there's just, I would like to say the bad people are definitely a minority, and they are, but they are out there. So people have to know what to look for. People should not charge you to audition. That's another thing I saw. Pay a $25 application fee to audition. No, you don't charge people to audition. You should not. Nobody should be asking you to take your clothes off in an audition.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
except Kevin. I don't know.
Kelsey does that, right?
Kevin has obviously some unique skills we may need to explore. But it's just things that I try to, again, I consider myself, a nice guy who really cares about the art of filmmaking, and cares about the industry, and cares about the people involved. And I want to try to the extent that I can, I want to try to, let people know what's proper and what's not proper, just so they don't get taken advantage of.
So with my little bit of involvement in this industry, acting and that sort of thing, there are what we call divas
Hmm.
that show up on the set and on stage, and they think that they are the reason that filmmaking exists or acting exists. Is right? You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes.
Do you run across that?
Yeah. You run across that from time to time. And again, it's not the majority, but they're definitely out there. And then you kind of reach a point with some people. Look, I'm an actor, so I can say this freely. Actors are weird. Actors are not actors.
Yeah.
Actors are eccentric people. Actors have entire baskets of neuroses and quirks and everything else. Myself, and I include myself in all those things. So you kind of have to be patient, and some level of that's acceptable. When it's not acceptable is when it's impacting other people on set or other people's performances and things like that. But no, I don't mind if somebody's has a high opinion of themselves and wants to conduct themselves a certain way. I think that's fairly normal. You do come to a point though where, and I've worked with some of these, and I've worked with some of these, and some of these I would not work with again. You get to a point where you kind of have to balance their output versus what it takes to get them to work. If you,
in other words, is it worth the effort you got to put into it?
Exactly. If you're Meryl Streep, I would expect Meryl Streep to have an attitude. If you are several rungs below Meryl Streep in terms of talent, you should not have a Meryl Streep attitude. So,
Kevin, put it away.
I saw that reminded me of a comment you put out there, but something about it. Just because you've done a few horror movies does not mean you can call yourself a scream queen.
Yeah,
I saw that comment.
That was kind of tongue in cheek and poking a little bit of fun, but yeah, it's, I see that. Everybody wants to be a scream queen.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And somebody that have made it real big stayed humble too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And really, I use Meryl Streep as an example. I think, according to most reports, she's also very humble and very nice.
You don't want to judge her inappropriately.
I do not. I may need a job one day, and Meryl, here I am.
Even if it's just to bring her a cup of water.
That's it.
You remind me of you're talking about the scamming and everything. It reminded me of Laura Park Lincoln from Friday the 13th, Part 7, and she was a regular on Falcon Crest, I think.
Mm-hmm.
She does the same thing, though. She's an acting coach now, but she even wrote a book about how not to get scammed if you're an actor. Mm. But she uses her platform a lot to try to help people not to get scammed or fall in the wrong place.
Oh, you see it in Birmingham. I see it, and I'm not looking for anything, but I'll run across something in Birmingham that just says scam written all over it.
Oh, yeah.
Dealing with actors and
it's just because you're acting is a very vulnerable art form because you're literally putting yourself out there as the product, and it's just, to me, man, it's just so rotten to want to take. It's rotten to want to take advantage of people anyway,
right?
But especially actors who tend to, be a little bit more on the sensitive side of things, and it's just I don't know. I want to do my best to try to educate people, so they know what to look for, and they can help maybe avoid these things.
Yeah. Well, that's a very good of you. I mean, that's very big-hearted of you to want to do that. Especially with younger people that don't have any experience and try to break into it, and they're very naive about it. Especially when you're younger or don't have any experience, you could get kind of desperate for that break, and then you start running to mom, dad, uncle, granddad, or somebody and say, "Hey, if I just had $500, I can get a role." And then you find grandpa wasted his $500 and you didn't get anything.
Yep.
So, got a lot of wise words there. You've got Instagram and Twitter and a few other places. How do people find you out there, Daniel?
Just search my name, Daniel Emery Taylor. I've got a Facebook. I've got a Facebook profile, and I've also got a Facebook page that's got the blue check on it. So search me there. Instagram is just my first initial and my middle and last name. So D Emery Taylor at Instagram, at Twitter. TikTok's the same thing, I think. So yeah, it's pretty much anything that's out there that I can try to reach people with. I'm out there.
Got it all. So if you got someone that hears this show either now or in archive version later, and they are saying, "Ooh, I'd love to act in one of Daniel's movies or whatever," how do you put out your interest in looking for talent?
Normally, I do two things. And again, there's 100 different casting websites out there, and people go through all kinds of different avenues. I always do a Facebook post, like a casting call, and I'll post that to the Facebook groups that I'm in. I also use a website called Backstage.
I'm a member of that.
Yeah, Backstage is fantastic, and I always get a really, really good pool of talent from there.
They send me notices every day.
yeah, and I like their interface. To me, it's a very user friendly website. I know a lot of people use Actors Access. I did not find that as easy to navigate, so I don't fool with it. So I use Backstage and Facebook almost exclusively.
Okay. So your next project that you're working on putting out funding for again, the title, you gave the title of it for the first time. I did. Myra Loves Monsters. I did a little teaser on my Facebook page back on Valentine's Day where we had Nadia, our actress, with a bloody heart and some little Valentines we made up. Yeah.
So
now is that Myra?
Myra, yep.
Myra?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Myra. All right. And that looks like my kind of movie right there.
It's I can't wait to tell you. I've been my business partner has been like trying to keep the lid on everything because I want to talk. I would tell you everything right now if I could. But I'm really excited about the premise. It's a great premise. It's different. It takes some familiar elements, but this is what I always try. This is what I try to do with It's Just a Game as well. Take familiar elements and kind of remix them. Put them all together, mix things up, and make something new out of it. That's what we're doing with this one, and I think people are really going to like it. I think it's something that's going to appeal equally to new fans and also fans of classic horror.
Well, the way my strange mind works, when I first saw that depiction of her, that heart in her hand, bleeding, of course, my brain says, "Oh no, a bleeding heart liberal." Anyway,
it's bipartisan. Everybody bleeds. Both sides of the aisle bleeds in these movies.
So people pay attention. I guess you've got all your production crew together for that one.
We're still putting crew together. I got my cast together. We'll be making those announcements once we all do. We want to try to launch everything at the same time because otherwise, social media people have very short attention spans. So I don't want to announce it and then months later, announce something. You kind of want to do it all at once. So we'll be announcing all that hopefully here in the next couple of weeks.
Even though you heard that here, forget it real quick.
It was an exclusive for your viewers right here.
Do you ever use like Indiegogo or those crowdfunder type things?
I have used Indiegogo in the past, but from my experience and anecdotal evidence, I think people tend to trust Kickstarter more.
That's what I was trying to say.
It's more of a well-known name, I would
Kickstarter.
think.
It is. Plus, there's more safeguards in place, to make sure that your money is really going toward the product, and people aren't just taking your money and running with it. So, I think people trust Kickstarter more, and therefore projects tend to do better on that platform.
So you've used Kickstarter before?
Yeah.
So you do both. You do the crowdfunding as well as go to Doctors Whomever. And
Yeah,
say,
absolutely.
Got a proposition for you. You can you can risk a few $1,000s, or you can go to Tunica. Make your choice.
Well, that's what I tell me. It's a high risk, possible high reward industry. I mean, there's a good chance you won't make any money. There's a good chance you may not make any of your money back. But there's also a good chance you could come out a few $1,000, $10,000, $100,000 to the better. It's just according to how the movie does.
And
that's show business.
You got to remind them that you get to hang around Daniel Taylor.
That's it. You get to come to set, and we'll treat you like somebody important.
Yeah, and he's already been in movies, so you get to eat dinner with a movie star.
Yeah, look, he's been around Heather Locklear, and
even though that dinner may be at Crystal Hamburgers, it's still dinner.
There we go.
There we go.
Good-looking girl. Good-looking girl.
And very sweet. She was. People ask all the time. Heather Locklear was incredibly humble and down to earth, and it was just a very, very sweet person.
Did you ever get to see that other one? I was impressed because not only was he in the first Swamp Thing, but he was a James Bond villain. What is his name?
Louis Jourdan. Yes.
Jourdan.
I met him. He was unimpressed with my presence there. So he apparently. I met him. I said hello. He looked down and kind of said hello back, and then that was it. But the word around set was he was not very well regarded. That he had an attitude that perhaps he was above the type of work that he was getting.
He gets that off in his acting too, kind of.
He does. And Jim Wynorski, who is the director, and Jim Wynorski's been a friend of mine ever since, so he's fantastic. But in the commentary for Return of Swamp Thing, if you get Blu-ray, he does not have very kind words to say about Mr. Jourdan.
So he was
God rest his soul.
beneath his talent.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I could see how he would feel that way, but I mean, you choose to take the work, and you should treat every project, like every other project. So it's,
it's like on my mother's side of the family, we're entertainers. Okay,
mm-hmm.
I got absolutely zero talent, but they had talent. And I knew these people, and I have, whatever. But the point is that people don't understand that at the end of the day, they're just people. They happen to have a job that makes them well known.
Absolutely.
They're still subject to everything that people are subject to.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, some of them spend too much time looking in the mirror and taking themselves too seriously because they happen to be talented at what they do. And I'm not even sure, I'm absolutely positive that to get yourself on stage or in front of a camera and act this role out, it takes a lot of freaking work. It don't happen. Mm-hmm. Just give me a script. Okay, I'm ready.
Right.
Okay. I know and I've heard of actors that actually, to get into the role, actually lived that role on the street for a month or two before they got in front of the camera.
Yes, people who do what's called method acting, they essentially try to live as the character. Mm-hmm. It's people. I don't go to that extent. I'm pretty good about snapping in and out of whatever I'm trying to do, but it does take, a lot of mental preparation, a lot of practice, sometimes a lot of introspection and trying to connect with your character and things like that. So, there's a lot that goes into it, definitely.
So when you're writing this screenplay, Daniel, you've got in your mind as the writer what these characters are like.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving them personality. You on paper are giving them life.
Correct.
But then you go out seeking talent. And some of the talent you say, I think that you're going to be good for this role in this screenplay. And once you get this talent together, has anybody ever come along and made you change your mind about who that character should be?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's actually happened a couple of different times. You have in your minds what you want, and you put it down and kind of what you're visualizing. And then when I cast, I'm less concerned. I will say this also, me personally, this is me. I'm less concerned about what a character looks like, as opposed to if they get the right verbal beats. Basically, I have a voice in my head. If they're going to, how closely they match the voice in my head. But sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes, I had especially the first film I did, a film called The Hospital. The lead actress that we ended up casting was nothing. Yeah, there I am.
Yeah, there you are.
Peeking around the corner there. The lead actress actually ended up being nothing like I had envisioned. What we got was she was a little tougher, a little rough around the edges. And the reason is when she read for it, it didn't sound like what it sounded like when I wrote it, but it sounded better. And
you're humble enough to accept that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know. That's why I don't edit my own things. I need a different set of eyes looking at it. Film is a collaborative effort, and yes, I like to get all up in my on my high horse and feel like an auteur, and I want to be the next Orson Welles or Alfred Hitchcock. But really, it's a collaborative effort, and you have to. The most successful, with rare exception, yes, you've got your Kubricks, you've got your Wells, you've got people like that, but with rare exception, most of your truly masterful filmmakers know that you've got to let go a little bit. You've got to take the reins, your hands off the reins, you've got to collaborate, and what I intend for a character needs to also resonate with the actor, so they need to be able to project things about themselves into that character to make it a fully realized person. And you've got to be open to that. You've got to be willing to, again, collaborate. It's a collaborative effort.
Well, outside of your glasses, you could do the Orson Welles bit from your looks.
Rosebud.
What was that commercial he did? These are the best frozen peas I've ever had.
But when Kevin showed that picture of you peeking around the corner,
mm-hmm.
The first thought I had is, look out, Jack Nicholson, somebody's coming at you.
Yeah, he plays the killer in that, or one of them.
I do, yeah.
And I'll never forget watching that, because I got that from you at what it used to be called, Alabama Phoenix Festival.
Yeah.
And we were going back and forth on it. I said, you were like, you got to watch that. And I said, just joking and jest, I said, well, as long as you don't show up in there naked. And then he looks up at me through his glasses like, well, you do remember how I used to write back in high school. Of course, I get home and I'm in for this spectacular.
It wasn't that bad. Wasn't that bad?
So Kevin, after he saw your twerking, look out! I think he's writing a special Kevin.
Absolutely.
He already did one about it. That was a comedy horror, wasn't it? About a fat farm, I think.
I did. Yeah, Fat Chance at the distributor.
Yeah.
The distributor renamed Camp Massacre, and I'm still salty about that because I thought Fat Chance was a great title.
Oh my goodness!
See, I could have been in that. I guess is one of the fat dudes.
So your efforts are all funneled into Myra at this point.
Yes, yeah.
You're head focused, and you think you've got a good storyline there for Myra. And,
I do.
You're soon gearing up to look for funding on that, and.
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
And I can't say enough good about the actress that we have. Again, Nadia, she's out of New Orleans. She is absolutely one of the most fantastic young actors I've seen. She's absolutely phenomenal, and this is a film that she's going to have a lot of fun with. But it's really going to be something that I think audiences are going to love. The rest of the cast is fantastic. I'm working with a couple of people that I've worked with before, a couple of people I wanted to work with, and then some new faces. But it's just it's going to be a really nice ensemble that I'm really excited about.
Okay, so let's do this real quick since we're talking about this. That's
There
her.
it is.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking for a picture. He beat me to it.
I'm a faster. I fast on a computer.
Oh, Playful Rain has joined us. Hello, Playful Rain.
Hey, Playful Rain, funny. Yeah. So, gosh, so there's no age limit to acting because all sorts of roles have to be filled.
Right.
Doing film, and I noticed even in one of the trailers I watched, of course, you got from young girls to old men and different body sizes, shapes, and styles. And if you look at it, a lot of the very famous actors were kind of homely looking characters that if you're walking down the street, you wouldn't say, oh, wow, look at that hunk.
Yeah, really. I mean, if you've got the talent, there's a place for you. And it's never too late to start. Always tell that because there's, lots of actors who didn't get started until their 40s and 50s. So never too late. So, but yeah, there's, for every perfect 10, perfect teeth, perfect tan, for every actor like that, you've got somebody like a Steve Buscemi who is interesting looking.
Yeah.
I think if people are willing to go out there and get the work and put themselves out there, I think there's a place for everybody.
And if you're good enough, even as a method actor, you can make a darn good living.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're willing to get out there, and if you're a good method actor, I don't think you have to stick and try to be the star of every show you're in.
No, and I think there's a certain wisdom in knowing your type as well. Not saying that you have to play the same type all the time. I try to play against type sometimes too. Like even, excuse me, Stanley from The Hospital, that was a little bit against type for me because I'm not normally that type of character.
So define type, what you're talking about.
Type would be like, for instance, if you see, like I know some background actors and some bit part actors who always play cops, and that's their type. They've got the square jaw, the short hair. That's what they always get cop roles, or people who always get, like slacker roles or whatever. Because you've got your leading ladies and your leading men and the stars, but then you've got the character actors, which is more like what I would fall into, which is we're the wacky next door neighbor, we're the best friend, we're the villain, things like that. If you kind of know what type you are naturally, and you're not afraid to go after those types of roles, then you can definitely make a lucrative career out of it.
Well, see, I don't personally, not to knock you, but you kept talking about Meryl Streep. And if I look at Meryl Streep and I think she's not that attractive looking a woman. You know what I'm saying?
It takes all types,
Yeah, but that's my point, is that you don't have to be, even to be stardom material in acting, if you've got the talent, you don't have to be this Bo Derek or whatever.
Right, correct. Yeah, absolutely.
So
I mean, she's perfectly lovely, but Kathy Bates, I would not offer up as a Bo Derek type, but she is absolutely one of the best actors working today. So
yeah. So and the reason I ask and bring some of these points up, Daniel, is again, you were kind of talking to maybe people watch this that are interested in getting into, and they're looking in the mirror thinking, what could I do? It's like, well, work on your talent instead of working and worrying about what your looks identify you as.
I think so, yeah, and be willing to change things up and be willing to, go after different things. And I think sometimes people would be surprised what roles they could get if they went after them.
So what do you think about what Kathy says there, that Daniel is a chameleon in the industry?
I think it's my sister. I think she's being nice.
He spilled the beans on you, Kathy.
Oh.
We thought you were a big fandom out there, And,
she's a big fan, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's blood though. She's required to be a fan. I'm teasing. All right. So let's see. Let's talk about type a minute.
Yeah.
look at Kevin and type him.
Oh Lord.
With what you know about his personality,
Typecasting.
because you know Kevin pretty well. If you were to put him in something, what role would he fit? Name a character you could put him in.
What role would Kevin play? He would. I think he would play an author. I think he would play a writer, maybe an office worker, maybe an accountant.
Okay, so now he's got a look with a hat and a cigar and whatnot that really got that author look to it.
I was thinking a news editor.
Yeah, I can see that.
News editor, journalism, whatever.
I got a buddy of mine that worked for an actress up in New York, and he once told me, I could see you playing a drunk priest. So,
I don't know, Kevin. I wouldn't give confession to you.
Glory of God.
You're not that innocent, Kevin. No.
If you gave confession to Kevin, he'd put it in a book. All right. So now you don't know me, of course, but you've dealt with me a few minutes. So type me.
Yeah, you would be a professor. I think if I was writing you would be a professor somewhere.
Okay. I get that a lot because I think it's because I earned a PhD in life.
Well, that's a good reason. That's a good reason.
I always get on my pulpit, so to speak. You lecture a lot.
Oh, let's make it really hard and interesting. You
got a face.
Barely,
Madam Catherine Marie.
I've barely spoken tonight. What would you type me as?
I would make you a news anchor because all I can see is your face.
My camera's broke.
Yeah,
Kathy thinks I'd be a fireman.
a fireman, Kevin.
Yeah, fireman Kevin.
I think it has something to do with your hat.
What's funny is I'm a retired firefighter.
She used to be a paramedic, drive a ambulance. Yeah. So, no, it's interesting. The last thing that I attempted, and I didn't get along with the director of a play a few years ago, was 1984. Thing, and I was that character that kept on telling everybody to be precise.
Mm.
That's what they had typed me as.
Yeah.
But I did not get along with that director. I walked away from it because this young girl was like, it was just not good.
Yeah, it's in film especially, you got to have a good working relationship with your director and the director with the actors and everything, because there's a fair level of trust there. Because you've got to trust that the actors are going to put forth their best effort and give you what you need. And then they've got to trust that you're going to present them in the best light given the role. And yeah, again, going back to what I said earlier, it's definitely a collaborative effort. And if one of the two parties is not cooperating, then it really puts a wrench in the whole thing.
So, I mean, I'm not big-headed to think that nothing goes on without me. So, I mean, it went on, but it's like, this is not a fit for who I am and the way that I need to handle, my being in front of anything. The pressure was too fast, too rapid, and it's like, we need to slow down a minute to get this right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just wasn't a good fit. That's all. And I guess we all run across that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Anything like that. If it fits, it fits. And if you got to work at it too hard, it's not worth the effort, I don't think.
Yeah, sometimes you can't, squeeze a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah. And some people don't have the ability to put the right people in the right places.
That's also very true.
And at least you're humble enough and open-minded enough to accept the fact that somebody may have a better idea than you or something.
At the end of the day, for whether fair or not, the director gets all of the praise or all of the blame for how good or not good a film is.
Right.
So I want the film to be as good as I can, and if you want to offer suggestions that I will get credit for, then absolutely, I am humble enough to accept that.
So,
I'm being funny, of course, but honestly, I I see great merit in a collaborative effort. I see great merit in, maybe taking a step back and, recognizing that I don't know everything, because I certainly don't. And, film is a learning process. I think even Scorsese still thinks that he's learning something on every project. I'm learning something on every project. And we should have the humility to understand that, and to listen to other skilled voices.
So may I make a suggestion to you, Daniel?
Absolutely.
Your sister's watching you right now. I think she should scribe those words you just shared.
Yes.
So that when you walk the red carpet and accept that reward, you've got your speech already made.
That's it.
So, wow. So you can't tell us any more about Myra. You got to keep some things kind of concealed at the moment.
Yep, for the moment.
Of your 4, you said you had 4 feature films that you worked on in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of those was your favorite?
It's hard to say favorite. It's Just a Game is definitely the best of the 4 that I've done. It's Just a Game is also the first film that I directed without a co-director. So it was, in a lot of ways, my first solo film. And I was very pleased with how it turned out. And it's an odd one. It's an odd story. I know the story didn't hit everybody because it's kind of more of an abstract Argento style, Dario Argento. Argento style, horror tale, but that's one that there's a lot of me in that picture, whereas the other ones were, not necessarily as much. Fat Chance, which became Camp Massacre, also means a lot to me because it's a concept that I'd had for a while, of kind of a killer at a fat camp, and I had a lot of good friend actors who were bigger guys like myself, that I basically wrote this film for all of us to be in. And we just had such a good time making the movie that one will always be close to my heart. I had a good friend on that, Bob Bauer, who passed away after we shot. So it's just kind of, it's that one will probably be my sentimental favorite. But in terms of which of the 4 I think is a better indicator of my work, I think that would be It's Just a Game.
Okay, so now you've got 4 feature films that's in the tank. It's done. It's out. So where do people view these?
It's Just a Game is available on most streaming platforms. I know it's right now on Vudu, free with ads. It's on Tubi, free with ads. It's also available for purchase on Amazon, the Google Play Store, the Microsoft Store for your Xbox, things like that. So pretty much anywhere. I still have Blu-rays that I sell at conventions and things like that, and then you can order a DVD from like Amazon or anywhere.
Okay, yeah.
But a lot of them have made their way. Most of them are on Amazon. A lot of them made their way to Tubi and other places like that. So
okay, so they're out there. You can find them.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. Those are probably like Kevin and I's books. You get a little money off of it, but you're not going to quit your day job. Royalties.
It's hopefully It's Just a Game will make some money. It's still very early in its life. So,
do you have a website?
I don't have a website. I had one for years, and frankly, I got tired of fooling with it. So now I just use Facebook's basically my landing page. So if you find me on Facebook, I've got a link tree. It's a link tree at D. Emery Taylor. That's got all my links on it. But yeah, I put so much work into social media that keeping up with a website it wasn't conducive to what I was doing.
Right. Okay. So next question, am I interviewing you in a good way, or kind of
I'm enjoying it. I hope people watching are enjoying it, because I am.
Okay. I think it's very informative. I wasn't sure what to expect from you as what you're willing to give up to us and whatnot. And I think we're very blessed to have you on, because if there's anybody looking at getting into this, I will tell them Daniel's the go-to guy. You could give seminars on this subject. And,
I've given done panels at conventions and things like that. So I try to educate as much as I can.
Yeah. So you're a professor too. See. So, oh, there was another question before I go into that other question. Everything I'm understanding about you, you started as a kid in a elementary school play.
Mm-hmm.
So you've never had any school training for theatrics. You learned on the job.
Yeah, I've not. It's all been through just on the job, repetition, and practice.
Which is really, really amazing, because just talking to you and actually seeing you in that one movie, you started out as a natural to me. That little redheaded kid running across there, banging on the door. Let me in. What do you mean password? You know,
I always had a.
I was waiting for you to say, "Fuck you, let me in." I thought,
I probably would have, but it was only he was PG. So
yeah.
But no, I always had like a very overactive imagination, and to me, acting is just playing make believe. So
I mean, I was very impressed. And I was like, look at this little kid,
And I did my own stunts too in that movie.
Well, that was real good. You got a good start with that. So now the next question, since you didn't go to any theatrical, you didn't have any formal training, and clearly I don't think you needed any formal training. And now at 42 years of age, with your life invested in it, you're a good source for a lot of information. You have accumulated a lot of knowledge in those years.
I have, especially the time at which I kind of came up too. I spanned a couple of different eras because, as a kid and even, up through high school and things like that, the industry was much different than it is now. So,
digital was just becoming a thing back then.
Right. Yeah. Back then, everything was shot on film, and all auditions were handled. You would have to go to your agent, things like that. Now, most of the auditions we do are what we call self-tape, where people film on a webcam or they set up a tripod and film themselves and email it to you. So, just I feel very, very fortunate to have come up at the time that I did. It's our generation too. People like my age, Kevin's age, it's the fact that, we had an analog childhood and a digital teenage years and adulthood. So
VHS.
Yeah. So
good old VHS.
I am well acquainted with the old ways as well as the new.
Well, you grew with the new ways. So that was an easy adaptation, growing with it like that.
I can tell you the first VHS movie I saw was Teen Wolf.
There you go. That's a classic.
We watched it twice that night. We just started it over after we rewound it.
So, the next question. You're in Alabama.
I am.
All right. You've done 4 feature films.
Mm-hmm.
Finding your filming locations. Okay, let's go to the clip I showed earlier of these girls. Did you go to somebody's house for this? You're an indie maker. I'm sure you work on a tight budget. You don't really have to do set design, do you? You kind of find a location and use it, or what?
We do to some degree, and going forward, I have from sets that I've worked on as an actor, I've definitely seen the merit of having set designers. So that would be something I focus more on going forward. But a lot of times you look for a space that's as ready-made as possible.
Somebody's house or somebody's backyard.
And it's just a game. We shot our 2 main locations. There were 3 main locations, but 2 of them were just houses of people that I knew who had nice houses who would let me come in and mess everything up for a week or so.
Yeah. Okay. What Myra, the bleeding heart girl there.
Yes.
Which that looks very.
He loves it.
Yeah, I do. I want to print that out and replace my pizza.
Bloody Myra up behind you there.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in the age when I was a kid. We had the old black and white Frankenstein, Dracula movies. And on Saturday afternoon, they'd have the matinees where you saved your RC Cola bottle caps and got in free.
Oh, wow.
And we would watch movies like there was an old black, I can't find it anymore, but there was an old black and white movie about Medusa.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, yeah. I remember that clearly when I was a kid because that was a scary thing with those snakes coming out of her head and whatnot. No, it was an old black and white movie. I never really got into the Godzilla movies that much, but that was a big thing back then, too. I just found it kind of troubling to watch people's lips move and the sound not come out for 5 minutes later.
But some of those old movies, especially the old Universal movies, I've got a Blu-ray box set of all of them. To me, you just can't beat them for atmosphere. A lot of the Hammer horror films too. I'm a big Hammer horror fan. The classics you just can't beat.
Yeah. Do you?
Universal's Wolfman is still one of my favorite movies too.
I love that one.
Are you a big Halloween fan?
Halloween, the film series?
No, the holiday.
The holiday. I am, and I love decorating for Halloween. My wife and I, my wife does most of the decorating. But we love decorating for Halloween. We love the season of Halloween. But we end up never doing anything, and it's people always like, oh, you work in horror. I bet you have the most crazy Halloweens. And I'm like, no. Like a couple of years ago, I painted my face green, was wearing an inflatable witch hat, and I handed out candy, and that was about as. But it's fun, Watch some horror movies, enjoy the season, and wait till November 1st and buy some discount candy, and you're good to go.
Well, I finally took down my Halloween decorations about 2 weeks ago. my neighbors steer clear of me. What's he up to now? But I live around some very old people. Like I'm not old, right? But there's actually people older than me around here. And I've always wanted to get a hearse and park in my driveway.
Oh, that's great. That would be great.
And to get me, I've got a big, tall Grim Reaper, and I'm just going to put a sign, next. All right. All right, so Kevin, you froze again.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you have frozen.
Yeah, I froze. It's my computer's going through the process here.
There's a new horror story for you right there.
Yeah, there I am, talking with no lips. No lips.
You're trying to imitate me,
Kevin.
Let's see.
We're right in the middle of the Night of the Living Dead. They're calling us.
At least you can hear me if I can get my.
Yeah, but we can't see you twerking.
He's gonna play that stupid video.
Would you like me to play the movie?
No, you don't have to play that movie. One twerk is enough.
No, don't want to watch it again.
Yeah, I hadn't eaten yet.
Oh, shut up. Kiss my grits.
Kiss my grits. Lord have mercy. So your filming locations, as you go along, you'd probably like to have a little warehouse somewhere where you could do sets if you wanted to.
Yeah, and I know a friend of mine is actually building like a studio space up in Huntsville. So yeah, there are places, and as the industry in Birmingham continues to grow, and not just Birmingham, but the entire state continues to grow, I'm sure there will be more things like that. But to me, just getting on location somewhere and just there's a lot of fun in that. There's a lot of
yeah. Well, I tell you what we need to do is go down toward Prattville down there and go to Jackson Island and use the old set for Big Fish.
Oh yeah.
And use that for a haunted movie for those set,
We actually wrote the film The Hospital. We actually wrote that because we had access to an abandoned hospital up in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. So Yeah, so sometimes if you have a really fun location, you can, build your movie around it.
I started to say some of that could probably almost write itself.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. How do you get inspired?
Yeah, a lot of my stories and scripts will just start with like images, like I see, a couple standing on a street corner, she screams, there's, a gunshot, whatever. I just get like these abstract images, and then in my mind, I start to build the story around them. So that's kind of my process for coming up with stories. I study other films. I watch other films all the time. Study my favorite directors, kind of see, not to copy them, of course, but to see what it is I like about their work, so that I can then incorporate those same elements into my work, in terms of just individual style, camera work, the stories, the pacing of the film, what have you.
So something you said earlier in the show triggered me as to the way that I tend to watch a lot of stuff, and I'm not a quote unquote filmmaker. I do a lot of YouTube stuff and different types of video, but not anything like what you're doing. The bottom line is, when you watch a show, when you watch a movie, is it hard for you to ignore the fact that you're looking at camera angles and that kind of stuff? And I bring that because earlier you took note of something I see is like these people that are chasing Bigfoot just happen to have a camera pointed in a certain direction,
Right. It's very hard to disassociate and just watch something. Yeah, it's my natural inclination is to study a film when I watch it. It's to, and not to sound pretentious or anything, but it's just, I'm looking at the lighting, I'm looking at the camera work, I'm looking at how they frame their shots, things like that. Sometimes it's easier, like with the Marvel movies and things like that, it's easier for me to just watch because, I'm almost like a kid because I love, superheroes and things like that so much. But most films I'm mentally dissecting as I watch.
Well, and a lot of people don't recognize how important this is. Where do you get your music? Because that sets, if you watch a movie without the music,
mm-hmm.
a scary movie without the music is not near as scary.
No, not at all.
So where do you get your music?
You work with composers. I had a fantastic composer for It's Just a Game named Russ Romine, who is local to Sylacauga, local to Alabama here. And basically, I just gave him some little snippets of kind of what I wanted it to sound like,
mm-hmm.
and gave him a cut of the film and let him go crazy. And what he came back with was exactly what I wanted. So, sometimes you can use canned music. I don't think it works as well.
I know there is a lot of royalty-free stuff.
Yeah.
And some of it's not bad.
It's if you're talking about just songs, like I always try to make use of music in my film, like pop songs, rock songs, whatever. If you're talking about songs, and there's always bands who will let you use their stuff for free because they're doing the same thing you are. They're trying to get exposure. They're trying to get out there.
They get their name on it.
Yeah, but if you're talking about the score itself, to me, a score works best when it's tailored for the film.
Right.
Yeah. So again, I know there are places that sell royalty-free music or licensed music, things like that. But to me, I don't think it fits as well.
Right. So there's a lot of people. A lot of people love entertainment and don't give a lot of thought to what they're going through in the process of watching movies and whatnot. But the actors, of course, are the necessary part of it, but all this post-production and all the filming, you probably, correct me, Daniel, in filming a certain scene, you probably have to take several retakes because you caught something on camera you shouldn't have caught, or the lighting wasn't just right. It didn't set the right mood or something like that.
Sure.
Music and all that can be added later. That's something you do later on in the game.
Yeah. Those are the words that every filmmaker hates. Let's fix it in post.
Yeah.
Fix it in post. You're taking multiple takes. Sometimes, maybe your performance was perfectly okay, but maybe you want to, hear it a different way. Sometimes, like you said, the lighting maybe not what it should be. Sometimes the pacing was off. Somebody stumbles over their line. You're getting things from different angles, so it's you're especially. And I always tell people, I worked on Road Trip, which was a very obviously huge production. It was Ivan Reitman. Ivan Reitman produced film, a Todd Phillips film. We would wait for an hour while they, moved all the lighting, moved all the cameras, whatever. We would shoot for like 5 minutes, and then we'd wait an hour while they moved everything again. And out of that, you may have gotten 30 seconds of actual, screen work. So it's a lot of it's a hurry up and wait game.
Yeah. I've been badgering you for an hour and 50 minutes thereabouts.
You badger? Oh, come on.
I'm glad he didn't act like he took it as badgering or whatever. I've enjoyed asking you these questions, but I certainly want to give at least a few minutes to Catherine and Kevin to ask any questions they've got or talk to you. Folks, speak up.
Well,
give me a break.
I had thrown out some questions already there. Let me see.
Catherine, you got any input here?
I'll tell you what you want to know, Kevin.
I forgot to ask about the great Carol O'Connor. What was that like working with him?
I didn't get to meet him. I didn't get to meet him.
Oh.
No. I was sad.
Oh, because I was gonna. Once I heard that name, I thought, "Oh, did he call you Meathead?"
No, yeah, Meathead.
Yeah, because I grew up on All in the Family and everything. Yeah, I did not get to meet Carol O'Connor.
Oh wow, he was a big star.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, people don't realize in filmmaking, oftentimes, depending on the scheduling, you can be in a movie with somebody or a show and never ever see them.
Yeah, I mean that happens quite often. Like I mentioned Louis Jourdan talking about Return of Swamp Thing earlier. I only met him just by chance.
Yeah.
He happened to be coming out of the place that I was walking into. I never had any scenes with him or anything like that.
Yeah.
Sarah Douglas, who's fantastic, who was in Superman 2, of course. Sarah Douglas, I never met on set. I'd met her when they flew us out to. There goes my chihuahua. I met her when they flew us out to do some voiceover work, some what they call ADR looping, where you go in and re-record your lines. I met her there at the sound studio. So yeah, if not for that, I would never have met her. So yeah, it's pretty common to miss people on set. Yeah.
I mean, the way camera work does and the way these scenes are filmed, you could actually be in a scene with somebody that you're never physically with.
I see that a lot, and because I have a really good eye, and again because I dissect things as I watch, I'll see these lower budget films where they'll have a name actor or like a genre actor, like a Michael Berryman or a Scout Taylor Compton or somebody like that. And they'll be in a scene with other people, but they're always in frame by themselves. And I'm always thinking it's like, oh, they shot that at a different. They probably, because they have a higher day rate because they're a name actor, they probably shot all their scenes at like one time and then just spliced them in throughout the movie. I see that in low budget horror. I see that a pretty good amount.
And with Chrome Key green screen, you can put them in the same room with you and actually have you in the same shot.
Yep. There's a shot on the show Ozark, which in this most recent, this is their last season. But I didn't even realize this until I saw an article about it. There's a shot of Jason Bateman in Ozark that is a still photograph that they superimposed into the shot. And if you weren't looking for it, you would have never known.
Yeah.
Because maybe he was missing or maybe he messed up, but they basically just superimposed a still photograph of him into the shot with people acting around him, and you don't know.
I think the first most evident big one was Forrest Gump. When he's there with President Kennedy.
Oh, yeah.
No shot, yeah. I mean, that was the one that I think that was most obvious, but it was they did it super good.
It was kind of eerie. You knew it was fake, but it was eerie. One of the that brought back a memory. Speaking of Swamp Thing alumni, when I got to talk to Adrienne Barbeau one time, she talked about the Fog was a big ensemble cast, and so people always what was that like being on screen with Jamie Lee Curtis and this and that. She's like, what are you talking about? I never was. The whole time she's only in the lighthouse.
Yeah.
She never shares the screen with any of the other actors. Now she got to see some on set because she was married to John Carpenter at the time, so she was on set here and there, but she never got to be in any scenes with any of the other actors.
Yeah, well, it's like Daniel said early on, film acting is a whole different ball game than stage acting.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Nothing similar about it whatsoever.
Yeah.
There's less faking you can do on stage.
Yeah, it's on stage. It's pretty much all out there for everybody to see.
Yeah.
That's why my favorite term is I always say we're making movie magic, because it is. That's what fascinates me so much about film, because it's a manipulation of visuals. It's you can make the audience see something they didn't really see, and to me that's just so fascinating.
I like going back to some of the older classics, horror movies, and you're looking at it. They didn't have what we got today. It was all on film, but they had some strange things going on on film. And it's really interesting because you think of the work they had to go through to get that accomplished, that nowadays you just kind of push a button and it's done.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Look at Lon Chaney Sr. He contorted his dang self to play some of those parts in those silent movies, up to the point where he caused a lot of strain on his body, which I think caused his illness too.
I think so. Yeah.
Daniel, any parting words?
I just want to thank you guys for having me. It's been an absolute blast. If anybody's interested in getting involved in film, either as crew, as an actor, as an investor, because we're always looking for investors, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm a friendly guy. I don't bite, so feel free to message me on Facebook or through one of my other social media outlets.
Very, very pleasant evening spending talking to you. And again, I end up doing all the questioning, and I hope that Kevin and Catherine don't feel slighted.
I got to talk and ask questions.
Well, not only that, you got
to
act. You did the twerking and flute playing, so I just sat here.
That was pre-taped acting.
I hate to say it, but I have a feeling that when we sign off here, he's going to be up all night writing a new screenplay about.
Oh God!
And I said it's going to be called "Whistle While You Twerk."
Whistle while you twerk.
The horror of the twerkling whistler.
A new killer.
And just film it in amongst his room with all these 300 haunted dolls.
I come twerking in and I mesmerize them with the flute. And as soon as I get close enough, the blade shoots out.
Now that's an interesting thing right there. Instead of playing the flute for the cobra to come up out of the canister, he can play the flute so his dolls come alive.
There you go. That's an idea. That's an idea.
He could just sit there. I mean, haunted dolls is a big thing right now. I mean, I didn't realize
definitely.
They sell them on eBay. They swap them, and I got to get rid of this haunted doll. Did you tell him, Kevin, about the time we had your haunted dolls come alive on our show?
I hadn't told him about that. I was about to say I got to meet the most famous one, Annabelle.
Oh wow!
But I haven't told him about the moving dolls yet on the live show.
We had on our show back before the pandemic when we were sitting in my office doing this at a conference table, and we had 2 dolls sitting over here, and they decided to start moving around during the show.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, well, again, Daniel, thank you for all your insight.
Yes.
Well, it's been a pleasure. And again, thank you guys for having me so much. I've really enjoyed it.
And I hope I get to meet you in the flesh one day. And anything we can do to help you promote your work or whatever, if you want to come back on and talk about it when you get your crowdfunding going. We don't make anything off of this. We just enjoy it. And we like to support everybody that's, is what they're doing. And clearly, especially Kevin is a huge horror fanatic.
Yes.
So
I love horror, old and new.
He would love to see you be super successful. So don't be afraid to invite yourself back on when you got something to announce.
We will definitely do this again. Absolutely.
Okay. And good luck to you on all of it. I'm looking forward to seeing Myra.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It'd be fun. I'll tell you what'd be fun. And it would help you out too, is if I came along when you started this and I did little clippets of your production in action without telling the story, and I put it out on TikTok for you and on YouTube, just little snippets of, hey, here's this production going on in Alabama, and the mere fact that a movie's being made in Alabama gets a lot of attention. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's a fantastic idea. We can definitely talk about that.
Kevin and I actually hooked up because in the early part of 2019, I had this strange idea of putting on a Bigfoot paranormal convention.
Mm-hmm.
And it sold out. We had to turn people away. AL.com did a little documentary about us. And Channel 13 came out there and interviewed us. We got a lot of free publicity.
Oh, wow.
So things can be done, and the subject matter does get attention.
Absolutely. You're right.
And picking on Kevin, my buddy, and your buddy too, I think, and his twerking.
Oh, Lord.
Remember, it did not hurt Miley Cyrus to twerk.
She made quite a career out of it.
Yeah. So don't be ashamed of your talents.
I never self-promote. Come on now. I mean, I don't know.
You're the Donald Trump of haunted dolls. Come on. All right, guys. Very much a pleasure. Daniel, thank you again.
All right. Thank you guys so much. You have a great night.
You too. Good night, all.
Peace. Good night.
Good night.